a piece of driftwood here that has beautiful shapes and intrigues about it that I thought it would be fun to draw. And one of the things it's good for learning about is how to do texture. A texture can be achieved in artwork by actually putting texture in. Sometimes acrylic painters or oil painters will put a textured ground, it's called a ground, on their canvas or paper that has some buildup to it, and then when they paint there's some actual physical texture to that piece. So that's one way to get texture. Watercolors lend themselves to playing with textures like that, with putting different substances in like salt or different chemicals and different mixes of water and so forth to get different textures on the paper. But it's also possible to get what I would call perceived texture, to actually draw a rendition of or representation of texture. I'm going to take this off for now so that I have a little bit more room, and I'm going to work from this photograph. I have two images here. This is the whole piece if someone is interested in just getting those beautiful contours and different shapes. But if someone is interested in doing the trying to get the actual texture of this beaten up and grained wood, I'll do a little demonstration here on how that can be done. And the best thing to keep in mind is, I mean, the temptation is to draw a bunch of wavy lines. And they do sort of look like lines, but anything that has movement in and out and up and down, like the human figure and so forth, has planes, which are how we see things, how things are made in life. This is this little plastic box here has an upward plane here, then the sides would be side planes, and the light hits planes differently. This isn't very good because you can see through it, but let me see if we have something like this. The side is going to be lit differently than the top because of the way the light hits it, and that's how we know that things have different shapes. So the grain in this wood is actually, it's not lines on the wood. If we look at it, we can really see, and you can imagine these lines are from divots where the wood has been weathered by water and wind, and so it actually goes in. So it goes in, and then it comes up, and so they're like these little mountains and hills and valleys, and that's what, and the different way the light is hitting it. Here it's especially obvious because that's a bigger sort of hole, so that's why you see that darkness and light pattern. So sometimes if you just keep in mind the actual physical quality of the item, it helps you to draw it. Same thing is true with a face with wrinkles. We often, when we try to draw an older face with wrinkles, we draw lines, and that makes the face look very severe and almost deformed, when in fact the wrinkles on the face are little hills and valleys, little ups and downs, and so if they are drawn that way, it's not only more representative of what the face looks like, but it is softer, which most older people that we are inclined to draw have a softness about them, so that helps to present that. So if I were starting, I have a very small palette here. If you have a whole bunch of browns, and I would say some warmer colors, some nice reds and oranges and browns that are warmer, and then another selection that are on the cool side so that you can get the dark parts. I'm just going to use a few here. I'm going to work really big just so you can see it. So I would begin with something light, and I would just go in and put some lines in to begin with, make them a little bit wavy and irregular. I don't want any real parallel lines because as you can see, they do vary in their widths, and that's what makes it look so interesting. So just as a guide, I would start, maybe I'll just work even a little bit bigger. So I would get my lines going here just as a guide. And then I would go in and designate some darker area. So I'm deepening this just a little bit, and that will represent one of those little divots in the wood there. I want to vary this because these spaces are, and then it's subtle, but the wood actually goes up a little bit and then down, so it goes like this. So the light is going to hit it differently. It's not going to, this isn't going to be all one tone, and if we color it all one tone, then it will just flatten it right out. So I'm going to keep the area that's going down to this divot here lighter. And I'm going to say that the light is coming this way. So this is going to be a little hill here, and then this goes down into an alley. I'm sorry, a valley. If I were going to sort of think about it this way, I'm not going to actually draw these, I wouldn't draw these lines, but this is the way I'm thinking about it, is that it's rounded here. So it's going to be different lighting patterns as it goes across. Now this may not look a lot like wood right now, but this is to indicate the process here. So I'd want to mix in a little bit of pigment here as well. And even though this is it looks very monochromatic, it wouldn't have to be. It can be, wood is all different kinds of wood or all different kinds of colors, so you could exaggerate that a little bit if you wanted to. So there you can kind of see it's giving a sense of going up and down. And then I would go in and darken in places. Take a darker brown here. And again, vary the markings. Oops. To make this, give this a real sense of being a crack or a valley in there. And then I might continue to vary the tone across the top here. And eventually go in and really deepen. Like I said, if you have a real dark, I would stay away from black, but if you have a real dark brown or even a nice blue like this, that will work. Now that looks kind of like a rope, doesn't look like wood very much, but I'll show you the effect when you do a bunch of these. This is a book by Gary Green, he's a colored pencil artist, and you can see here that he's done this and repeated it. You can see how he's varied the darkness as he goes from ridge to ridge. Some places he has very dark, some he keeps lighter. And when you repeat that over the whole thing, it's a very lovely piece by him, piece of driftwood that he had. And then of course he went in and deepened the big shape shadows as well to make it look like driftwood. So the option is the artist's. I mean, I even find this image very pleasing. One could do just this, and it could be very interesting. Or one could include a larger part of the driftwood itself.